After years of being neglected by the party opposite, it's this Conservative government that is levelling up across the country.
Where do you even start with this bollocks?
After years of being neglected by the party opposite.
Well, imagine the shock for the Prime Minister when someone tells him it's his party which has been in power for the last 14 years.
It's this Conservative government that is levelling up across the country.
Social mobility in this country is now at its worst in over 50 years. Never in living memory have families got so much poorer over a single parliament. Real wages in 2024 are actually forecast to be lower than they were in 2006. Just think about that. And if all that's not terrible enough, the UK has just been ranked by UNICEF, that's the United Nations Children's Fund, as the worst amongst the world's richest countries in child poverty levels. The number of children in food poverty has doubled. More than 14 million people are now living in poverty. 1 million adults can't afford to eat every day. 9 million are skipping meals and cutting back on food. And millions more can't afford to heat their homes. After 14 years of Conservative government, we've got untreated sewage dumped in our rivers, crumbling schools and hospitals, and cash-strapped local authorities across the UK forced to take out massive 50-year loans at soaring interest rates in the aftermath of the Tories' catastrophic mini-budget.
Mr. Speaker, we're delivering on what we said, which is 30 hours of free childcare a week for parents of working parents of children from 9 months until they start school. It is the largest ever expansion of childcare in our country's history.
Well, let's take a look at that.
The government has committed to making childcare more affordable by giving working parents more free hours for 2-year-olds from April and even younger children later this year.
The problem is many nurseries are already struggling with rising costs and staffing challenges. With just weeks to go, they fear this expansion could lead to closures and even fewer options for parents.
A survey of childcare providers shows that 1 in 4 think it's likely or very likely they'll have to close over the next 12 months. Of those offering the funded hours in April, 60% of nurseries and preschools say the funding they'll get from the council won't cover their costs. A surge in demand is expected, but 71% aren't in a position to increase places.
So this is our baby room. Children are in here until they're about 1.
Around 30 families here have applied, and staff say they'll have no choice but to charge parents more.
They're going to give us £7.38 an hour. It's going to cost us in excess of over £10 an hour to offer the care.
So we're looking at a shortfall?
Yes, quite a significant shortfall. And from that point of view, parents are going to have to pay for their food and consumables, which at the moment, when they're paying private fees, they don't have to pay for their food and consumables. It's included in the hourly rate. So that's going to be, it's not truly free.
Nursery closures have increased dramatically already, and they'll now be dependent on what funding the government gives them year to year.
I think the reality is that we will have lots of disappointed parents. And as the government rolls out this programme further and further, so in September for children of 9 months and older, it will get even worse.
We literally cannot believe a word this government says.
What we're getting on with, Mr. Speaker, is delivering on the people's priorities.
Seriously? During the past 18 months, we've had an anti-strike law designed to rob millions of workers of their democratic right to strike. An Elections Act will lock millions of people out of the electoral process, a blatant act of voter suppression by the government. And new laws have now stripped back our right to protest and limited our rights to judicial review, an affront to the very principles of fairness and government accountability. And if all that's not bad enough, Sunak's new Rwanda bill actually says a lie is the truth, will put the UK in breach of its international legal obligations. Is a shameless power grab that will put the government above the law and sets a dangerous precedent which could ultimately put all our rights at risk. Since when did all that become the people's priorities?